Hello my darlings and welcome to a new vlog. Today we're reading short books. So for me that's anything approximately 200 pages or less. I have read a bunch, so I'll tell you about those first, and I still have one more to finish. So the first book that I picked up was The Death of Ivan Ilyich by Leo Tolstoy, and this came in at 86 pages. And this is about the death of Ivan Ilyich. And we open up at his funeral, and the people in his life, their first thought is, better him than me. And their second thought is, how can I personally benefit from Ivan's death? We then go back throughout Ivan's life, his marriage to his querulous wife and unsatisfactory home life, which sought him to seek refuge in his work and just pour himself into that. And whilst this is a book that does seem to be a meditation on death and dying, and I understand that people could see it as meaningful, but for me, this was as tedious and miserable a reading experience as Ivan's life was. I did not enjoy reading this book. The opening chapter alone, I think this is a Russian thing, but it is so name heavy. I'll see if I can quickly bring it up on Goodreads and just read the opening page to you. Okay, so this is just the first paragraph. During an interval in the Melvinsky trial in the large building of the law courts, the members and public prosecutor met with Ivan Egorovich Shebek's private room, where the conversation turned on the celebrated Krasovsky case. Fyodor Vasilyevich warmly maintained that it was not subject to their jurisdiction. Ivan Egorovich maintained the contrary, while Peter Ivanovich, not having entered into this discussion at the start, took no part in it, but looked through the gazette which had been handed. Ivan Ilyich has died, replied. You don't say so. Here, read it yourself, replied Peter Ivanovich, handing Fyodor Vasilyevich the paper still damp from the press. Praskovya Fedorovna Golovina, with profound sorrow, informs the friends and relatives of the demise of her husband, Ivan Ilyich Golovin. As someone who really struggles to remember names, I felt like I was being waterboarded with them. And it was just very dry. Ivan himself is just a miserable codger and an unpleasant man, as is his wife, as are the people that are around them. So this book really wasn't for me. I didn't get much from it. There were some lovely little morsels regarding death, mostly towards the end when he was approaching death's door. But overall, it was dull and tiresome. So, not for me, but read it if you enjoy classics or reading about an old man's boring life and drawn-out death. So the next book that I picked up is This Is a Story About Your Mother by Louise Wallace. So this is a book of poetry. There's poems at the beginning of the book, I guess to do with womanhood and motherhood and childhood. I didn't enjoy the poems. They didn't work for me. They mostly just felt like words on paper, you know, that sort of thing where you just can't make sense of them. They have no meaning. Like for instance, and a lot of the poems just felt like saying things. I'll give you an example. So I'll read you the poem Night Terror. Sneezing into yogurt, moving with no sensation. Money blowing away in the wind. Custard. Not moisturizing. The navel in general. Someone chewing almonds. Someone shouting, time for a cuppa? Percentages, elevators, a problematic intake of cheese, a tickle in your heart, ridge in your brain, excess water in the body, total silence, noise, no contact or weak connection, no women, women, whisper, whisper, whisper. A lot of them felt that way, and I didn't like the formatting of majority of the poems. They were done like this, where the sentences have big spaces in between them, and for some reason my brain does not compute that and really struggles. But then at the end of the book we have Vessel, and Vessel is pretty much the titular page. Well, as you can see, this is also very spaced out. This is a story about your mother, so it's about motherhood, and it is the birthing story of them bringing their child into the world, and I did enjoy that one. Whilst this book of poetry was not for me, I would say read it if you enjoy varied formatting, purple Versace, and childbirth stories. The next book I picked up is called Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin. This is 38 pages. I've just realized I forgot to tell you how many pages the other books are. I'll make sure I write it on the screen. This is a sci-fi novella. So in this world, a former human returns to Earth. So there was a sort of exodus when the Earth seemed to be nearing extinction, and a group of elitists left and went elsewhere. And this is one of those colonies, and they have kind of diverged from the typical humans in that most of the citizens don't have skin. They're sort of in these walking bags, and only skin covering is given to, once again, those in power on their new planet. But they've run out of supply of some kind of matter, and they must return to Earth to get some. They've been told that the Earth is decimated, it is done. And they are incredibly shocked to find out that is not the case. Earth is not only alive, but thriving, and seems to be more advanced than them. And funnily enough, actually no, I don't want to spoil much. It's only a 38-page book, but this was told in second person, which I didn't love, because I guess an alien now that's returned to Earth has an AI in their head, sort of giving them directives and telling them what to do and being a nasty little bitch. The book has a very pro-socialist, has heavy pro-socialist messaging, so I will say that. And basically it's, instead of eat the rich, eject the rich, and you'll have utopia. I thought it was decent. I liked it. It was interesting. It was something I hadn't read about before in terms of the premise. Like I said, 38 pages, can't tell you any more about the plot without giving it away. But it was an enjoyable read. Read it. If you like helping your neighbor, skin, and living planets. The next book I picked up was 5 stars. It's a 5-star read, and that is Deal of a Lifetime by Frederick Backman. And in this book, you have a very wealthy main character who has lived his life quite selfishly and has been an absent father and terrible husband. And at one point he says to his son, who is trying to get his father's attention and have some sort of relationship with him, he said, "I abandoned you, but at least I abandoned you at the top of the hierarchy of needs." Oof, oof, oof. He doesn't make any apologies over who he is. He states quite clearly, "I'm the kind of man that when a 5-year-old little girl who is dying of cancer at the hospital asks to play, I say no and walk away." And that's the setup. He is now dying of cancer, and there's a little girl who's 5 years old, and she's also dying of cancer. And despite his best efforts, she does get under his skin, and he starts to think about things differently. This book has it as a magical realism quality in that death is personified, and death is an old lady in a grey sweater carrying a folder who likes to knit and really shouldn't have favourites but does. And our main character once again is philosophizing and believes that the happy leave nothing behind. They live for the sake of living, but for him his whole life has been about legacy, leaving a legacy behind. But he starts to realise there's more than one way to leave a legacy, and that it's never too late to do a good deed. Just like almost every Frederick Backman book, this had me in tears. I was crying a river, even though this is an unlikable man. He's not completely devoid of humanity. And once again, short book, can't delve into it much, but yes, this made me feel things. There was one line in particular, which I've put in my Goodreads, I'm not going to tell you on here, but you'll hear it in my wrap-up, that broke me. Oh, it broke me so bad. But this was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It also has illustrations, so it feels a bit more like a grown-up picture book too, in a way. And yeah, I really recommend it. It is only 65 pages, worth the read. Read it. If you like redemption arcs, final calls in bars, and crying your bloody heart out, this was, yeah, fantastic. 5 stars. I will have to get a copy for my shelf. Oh boy. So the last book that I'm reading for this reading vlog is called The Mustache by Emmanuel Carrera. This is on the larger side. It's 192 pages. And I was hoping to get the physical copy to tote around, but no, it's due back in another 2 weeks. So I'm just going to read the ebook, and I will do that while I'm going out. So today I'm taking my daughter and her friends to the city. They did originally want to go to Moomba, Moomba is a festival in Melbourne that's held outdoors. It's just, think, a lot of overpriced carnival rides, food trucks, loud music, and ton of people in sweltering heat. Because even though it is March, autumn, the first week you get like the last hurrah of summer, and she likes to go out in a blazing fire. So that's what's happening. It's all high 30s temperatures for the rest of the week. So I said, no, babes, I can't do that, especially with my health conditions. So her auntie, my sis Sarah, my sister, took her to go to Moomba. So she's seen it. She lined up for an hour to go on one ride, and she understands it's overrated. But she did get to see the fireworks at the end. I am not pro fireworks, so because of the birds and the animals. But we are just going shopping. So for me, I'm going to go to a brunch. I'm going to then hit up some bookstores. I want to see if I can find some more 5-star babies for my bookshelves. I think there's an op shop in the CBD, if there is, and it's close by. I like to be in the same block as the girls while they're shopping. I'll hit it up, and then afterwards they have requested we get some froyo, so we shall. And then hopefully I'll have finished the book and tell you what my thoughts are about it.
That one I might have. It says I've got one.
Okay, unfortunately, the op shop is closed on Sundays. Can't go. Just waiting for the girls to take their photos in the photo booths. Okay guys, I'm back. I will show you first what I ended up buying. I did also buy Wild Dark Shore, that's the card scratching, but I just found out that it's actually half price at Big W, half price. So that's $20 difference. So I am going to return that book and rebuy it at Big W. I'm so oily. I do have the oily skin and it is 37 degrees outside. Okay, so I got Open Throat by Henry Hoke, The Blue Book of Nebo by Manon Stephen Ross, and The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Core. This is not the cover that I like. So this is also a hard cover, but in Australia we don't, no one is selling the paperback, unfortunately. So hardcover it is. But yes, I prefer to get my books from stores over Amazon. But I might have to check out Big W. Once again, I prefer indie bookshops, but sometimes they just don't have them. Like, unfortunately, almost every book was not there in the indie stores. So I ended up going to Readings to get these, but I'm going to return The Wild Dark Shores. And I had to pivot because while I was filming, someone did borrow the ebook of The Mustache. So that was that, and I didn't want to go buy it. So I will have to save that book for the next short books reading vlog. So I quickly just found something that was available immediately. And that book was The Test by Sylvain Neuvel. And this is 108 pages. And this is about a very optimistic Iranian man who has emigrated to the UK with his wife and children and is undergoing a citizenship test. And whilst he is sitting the test, an armed man takes them all hostage. And after Adia tries to save one of the hostages' life when they're shot, he gets chosen to be the life decider. So basically every 15 minutes, I don't even think you can say the T word. It sounds like arborist, but with a T, you know what I'm getting at, decides to kill one hostage every 15 minutes. And he's like, all right, Idia, since you made a decision to try and save that man's life when I did not decide to, you can pick which one of these hostages die. So it is very fraught. It is high stakes. There is a twist involved, but basically, yeah, this is a test that no one wants to take and that will absolutely leave a permanent mark on its subjects. Did Adia pass the test? This book looks a lot at refugees and the process of citizenship under a government that likes to control its citizens and also control who its citizens are. And the whole book is just based around ethics and morality. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. It was harrowing. Like, I just DNF'd a book based on government overreach, and this was very similar in that respect. It's pretty much, the government will justify the means, basically. But read it if you like Fesenjan passing tests and being a hero. So to sum up all the books that I read for this reading vlog: Death of Ivan Ilych by Leo Tolstoy wins the award for L'Espèce Finem, Consider the End. This is a Story About Your Mother by Louise Wallace wins the award for Being a Mixed Bag. Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin wins the award for Teamwork Makes the Dream Work. The Test by Sylvain Neuvel wins the award for Stressful Exams. And my favourite read, 5-star read for this reading vlog, was Deal of a Lifetime by Frederick Buckman, and this wins the award for making me want to double the amount of nighttime cuddles with my children. So the cats are fighting. Those were all of the books for this reading vlog. Until next time, stay short, Star Child.